Hey guys, I'm Tom from Croatia, and in the last couple of years, the world has been my home. I travel, I hitchhike, cars, trucks, horses, motorcycles, boats. I drove in buses, trains, rickshaws. I worked odd jobs. I spent time with locals. I volunteered. I became a monk. Just kidding. I sailed across the Indian Ocean. I tried things that I never tried before. I've seen things that I will remember as long as I live. And all that with almost no money.
That's pretty much it, actually. Thank you very much. No, most of the people, when they see this video, they react with, wow, I wish I could travel like that. And the thing is, most of us actually can. Before I started traveling, as Andrew said, I was a stockbroker working 9 to 5. I had a lot of money. And then the crash came, 2008. I lost my job, I lost the money, and I lost the meaning. At that time, I discovered one website called Couchsurfing. I don't know how many of you guys heard about Couchsurfing? Okay, how many of you haven't heard about Couchsurfing? Okay, for you guys, it's an internet website that allows you to host travelers in your own home, and at the same time, it allows you to stay in other people's homes while you're traveling yourself. When I was hosting people in my apartment, over 150 of them, by listening to their stories and seeing a spark in their eyes, my thought was, wow, I wish I could travel like that. But I was afraid. The world is a very dangerous place, at least according to the media, our education, our family, church, and so on. I was afraid of leaving my comfort zone and going by myself into the unknown world. And I was also afraid of not having any money. And then the people that I hosted in my apartment told me two amazing things. First of all, you don't have to be brave to travel. You just have to have a little bit of courage to start, to leave. And the other thing they told me is that you don't have to be rich to travel. Actually, all expenses while you're traveling fall into three major categories. First is transportation, to get from point A to point B. The other thing is accommodation, and the last is everything else, food, drinks, and so on. And they told me if you minimize those three expenses to some minimum, it can be actually cheaper to travel than live in your own city. I listened to them, and for the next 5 years, I've been traveling around the world with almost no money. And this is how I did it. First thing, I hitchhiked. Apart from being free, apart from being really fast, it allowed me one amazing thing, to have an adventure between point A and point B. Now, how many of you guys have ever hitchhiked, maybe? Okay, well, quite a lot. Why? What are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna play you a short video called Hitchhiking Guide, just to tell you a few unwritten rules about hitchhiking and some of my experiences.
When it comes to hitchhiking, everything is about using common sense. First, to start, you have to get out of the cities or villages or wherever you live and start hitchhiking. So you have to be on the right road and you're going the right direction, and it's really basic things.
Lesson number 2, stick up your thumb. Probably most of you have it, so just do this. I've been searching. Hitchhiking lesson number 36. Look decent, like shave and stuff, and try to wear some like clean clothes, whatever, or hide behind your backpack so nobody sees what you look like.
Lesson number 54, do not hitchhike during night. Be in a good mood. It's your choice. You're hitchhiking, so don't be grumpy. Don't be like...
Lesson number 58, eye contact with the drivers. See, this one nearly stopped. So yeah, don't hitchhike alone. I have a friend that I hitchhike with. Meet Maria Juana. This is she. Lesson number 21, talk with the drivers when you're in the car, because that's the only way you can repay them. They would like to hear some interesting stories if you have one, yeah? If not, just listen to their story. That's sometimes enough. Lesson number 9, fasten your seatbelt if you have one.
Hitchhiking lesson number 62. When the driver is asleep, take over. Be always happy, you know, like you're hitchhiking, it's your choice, and you want to sometimes look around. Be patient, and don't expect people will stop, because you'll be wrong in 99.74% of cases. But no matter how long you wait, the right ride will come. So that's the ultimate hitchhiking rule, and that's all you have to know, man. There are no rules, actually. All the rules. So yeah, go out there, enjoy your life, and challenge yourself, eh?
Feels alright. Now even breathing feels alright. Yes, even breathing feels alright.
Thank you. There are other alternatives to transportation. One of them is walking. You guys know what that is. How many of you guys have walked? So you just take your backpack and hit the road. Another way is cycling. It's not maybe completely free because you have to buy the bicycle and eventually fix it, but it's much more cheaper than the conventional method of transportation. And the last one is actually working in exchange for transportation. I did this when I was sailing across the Indian Ocean from Australia to Africa. And I didn't have to pay for the ride, I just needed to do some work on the boat, like do some night watches, cooking, and stuff like that. When it comes to accommodation, most of the time I use couch surfing because I had a lot of experience, I had a lot of these positive references on the website and so on. And what I like about couch surfing the most is not only because it's free, it allows you to have a different perspective of the destination. You're not destined to stay in your hotel room or take the tourist tours. You just hang out with your host. He takes you on places that you would probably never visit by yourself. But also there are some other alternatives. One of them is camping. You have your tent, so you can sleep almost everywhere you want. In the big cities, I usually slept in parks, just have my sleeping bag and my mattress. And the last one, when it comes to accommodation, is volunteering. There are a lot of opportunities all around the world that offer you to work in exchange for accommodation, sometimes even food. So you get to sleep in beautiful rooms like this. When it comes to all the other expenses, one of them is food. In rich cities, in rich countries, I usually buy food in supermarkets, which is the cheapest way, and just eat on the street. You can also cook with your host, which can be pretty unique experience, to say the least. These are Germans, actually. Yeah. Sorry. But it was pretty delicious, to say the least, and one of the cheapest. Yeah. Another thing is dumpster diving. Maybe over 40 to 50% of the food that is being produced is being thrown away. And a lot of people have a problem with that, so they go to supermarket bins after the closing hours and just take all the food that is not going to be sold day after. And when it comes to drinks, booze, the usual, try to avoid the bars and the restaurant and drink in parks. This is how you can travel really, really cheaply. But one other thing when it comes to traveling is that you can earn money while you're traveling. How to do that? I did it a couple of times. One of them is busking, playing the guitar on the street. I'm not a musician. I know like probably 4 or 5 chords and 4 songs. So it's like repeat all, you know, like people are passing by, so they're like, they don't really know. But the most important thing is to have a story. I always had my small carton board, which I wrote, actually somebody else wrote in a local language, where I'm from, what I'm doing there, what's my story. And I think that's what people donated a little bit of money, some sandwiches, sodas, and so on. You won't earn a lot of money by doing this, but it can get you through the day. One other way is to write. You can write a blog, open up a Facebook page. After a while, you can maybe write a book, and so on. But what brought me largest amount of money is actually going to Australia. This is a job I worked in Australia. I call it professional traffic diverter. It's a very hard job, as you can see. You tell people, please go this way, not this way. I mean, if they're blind, you know. Yeah. So for this, I was getting paid $20 an hour. I am sorry. I know you hate me and all that, but oh well. Plus, I had food and accommodation included. No, I know. And actually, one information. This was on my round the world trip. It took me 13 days of working at this job to pay off 8 months of traveling from Croatia through the entire Asia, reaching Australia. So 13 days of work in exchange for 8 months of traveling. So what have I learned on all these trips? Have I found the meaning of life and so on? That's what my mom asked me, like, oh, you know, we were really scared for all these years, but was it worth it? And my answer is always definitely yes. I've learned a lot of things. Most of them are just like some personal nature things, so I won't be talking about that. But I also learned some general truths, so to speak. I learned not to trust media and all their horror stories. I learned that we should preserve our earth, like it's the only one we have, and the only one with chocolate, right? I learned to tear down my prejudices. That was probably one of the most important things. I've learned that all the people around the world, no matter how much we try to point out the differences between the cultures, races, religions, and so on, we're all actually basically the same. I have a small story, short story about these prejudices that I encountered while I was traveling. When I was leaving Croatia and heading on my round-the-world trip, everybody was telling me, be careful. It's very dangerous, you know, you're going to hitchhike, you're going to sleep in other people's homes and stuff like that. In Croatia, it's still okay to travel, you know, but as soon as you cross the border, enter into Serbia, you know what Serbians are like, you know? Be very, very careful, somebody might kill you. And I'm like, okay, thank you for the warning. And I crossed the border, enter into Serbia, amazing adventures, amazing people I met, people picking me up, taking me out, sleeping in their homes, really, really amazing experiences. And I was leaving Serbia, heading to Bulgaria. I was driving with one driver, and I'm telling him that story, like how Croatians were warning me about Serbians. And he's like, brother, you know, that's complete nonsense. Croatians and Serbians, we're all brothers. But Bulgarians, when you cross the border, enter into Bulgaria, you know what Bulgarians are like. A lot of gypsies, man, you know. Be very careful, somebody might kill you. And I entered Bulgaria, the same story all over again. Amazing experiences, people were just extremely friendly. And then I was driving with one truck driver going towards Turkey, and I was telling him the same story, like how Croatians warned me about Serbians, Serbians about Bulgarians. And he's like, brother, you know, that's complete nonsense. You know, Croatians, Serbians, Bulgarians, we're all Balkan brothers. But Turkish people, oh my God. You know what Turkish people are like, you know, very dangerous, somebody might kill you. Turkish people warn me about Kurdish people about Iranis about Pakistanis about Indians didn't warn me about anyone, I don't know. It's like the last frontier or something. Beats me. But yeah, it wasn't only a travel lesson, but maybe a life lesson, like not to trust all these horror stories people were telling me. And one also interesting thing, when you come back home, like people are kind of afraid of leaving because they don't know what's going to wait for them once they come back. There's a big probability you will be a star when you come back. You know, everybody will buy you beers. Girls will be like, ooh, you know, he's been traveling. But after a while, kind of gets boring. Like you're tired of telling your own story. People are tired of listening to it. Like this post-traveling depression kicks in. And then you actually have three options. One of them is just settle down to your old lifestyle. You have still your old friends. They're still talking about the same things, going to the same places. Maybe you can get your old job back. And after a while, it's okay. You know, you feel safe. You know, you're living there. But kind of miss that guy who's been traveling, you know, who's been having this intensity wherever he goes. The second option is to take your backpack, say, like, oh, I cannot live here, and just head back to the road. And you will have that intensity. You will meet amazing people, have adventures every single day. But after a while, you will miss something. You will miss belonging to a story. Your friendships will be intense, but they will be short-lasting. Your relationships will last as long as your visa for a certain country does. You will miss having a home. And the third option is actually the balance of these two. So stay in one place, but still don't lose that intensity. Walk in the streets you've never walked before. Start talking with random people on the street. Get a new hobby, find a new job. Maybe write a book, give a TEDx conference talk, you know, like all sorts of things. So, is it for everyone, this type of traveling? I don't think so. With all the amazing things that this kind of traveling can bring to you, there are also downsides. It's a big chance that you will be lonely, that you will be hungry, that you will be sick, that you will be homesick, but it all comes down to your gut feeling. If after all these ideas and all these knowledges, you still have that, wow, I wish I could travel like this, then you should definitely do it. Then you should forget about your fears, disregard the fact that you're broke, and just leave, head to the road. Because like that famous quote says, in 20 years from now on, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things you did do. Thank you very much.